Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Loughlin. Welcome back to Giving the Devils Their Due. Back in 1994, Martin Brodeur was voted Rookie of the Year in the NHL. The following season, he was in goal as the team won their first Stanley Cup championship. So as the 2000 playoffs got underway, it was a chance for Brodeur to add to his trophy case and his reputation.
Martin Brodeur's goaltending and his enthusiasm are both infectious, and we love watching this guy celebrate. And he celebrated 4 times at the end of each round, and never more prominently so than when he had his picture taken with his 3 boys. Anthony plays out here in the hallway on the nights of games and pretends he's Dominik Hasek. I don't know what that means, but at any rate, going into this thing, how did you have this viewed, Dallas versus New Jersey, at the beginning of the final?
Well, I think I viewed it with a little bit of doubt, as I think everyone did, if they were honest. Even the players, maybe the New Jersey Devils, wondering, well, you know, they'd won 3 rounds, but now they were going against the hot shots from the West, who everyone assumed was a better conference. And that's why I think, Doc, the first game was going to be pivotal. And when the Devils came out and executed the way they did and scored the 7 goals, yes, some of them were on the weak variety. Of course, Eddie Belfour, we have to cut him a break. He did take some medication that messed up his vision. But besides that, the Devils, I think, after that game, believed that they could win the Cup and the series, and that they maybe were the better team. And I think throughout the rest of the series, that showed in their confidence and their enthusiasm in the way they played.
Okay, we wipe out Belfour's first game. Now take the goaltenders from games 2 through 6.
Well, obviously they were both brilliant. I mean, throw out, as you mentioned, the first game, but then Eddie Belfour really dug in, and I think that's what makes it special for the Stanley Cup winners, when they've had to beat one of the best goalies at the top of his game. And you know, that's quite a mental challenge for a guy like Martin Brodeur, who's sitting down at the other end, and Eddie Belfour's getting pounded and pummeled with shots. But as we saw in the final game, Marty Brodeur knew one shot, one Brett Hull shot or Mike Modano shot could end it. So he's on pins and needles, but I thought Martin Brodeur became more and more determined and better as the series went on, and I thought he played his most important games, the last 2 games of the series.
It wasn't easy for either goalie. It wasn't easy for anybody out there. This was a mean, old, nasty series.
Well, I'll tell you, it is as nasty as I've ever seen an NHL final, and I'll say that only because of the ferocity of the hits, especially up high, and that's one thing everyone's talked about in the league, the high hits on the head. But you know, when Jason Arnott goes down and loses some teeth, and then, of course, unfortunately, Peter Sikora, and there were other hits that could have been very, very injury situations, it tells you the desperation of this series, Mike. And again, that's what you look at when you sit back in the summer like the New Jersey Devils will do. They will think, boy, you know what, the Dallas Stars didn't make it easy. Not only did we have to score, but we had to fight through some really tough hockey.
Yeah, some tough hockey and some long hockey. It amazed me, the physical stamina of players to have played really 6 periods in one night and then traveled the next day, the same day, I guess, really, technically, and then to play 5 periods in an elimination game and to still be standing when it was all done.
Well, you're standing, but you're not thinking, and I think, you know, Ken Hitchcock said it best when they started the 5th game. He said, this series has gone from physical to mental, and that's what carries you through. I mean, you're not really even thinking of your legs moving, your arms reacting. It's just all on instinct. But as you mentioned, that final game in Dallas, with the heat and the ice and the drama, and for both teams, I thought, to play at the level that they did, that was one of the most exciting games, I think, of the playoffs. You know, it's a tribute to the coaching staff on how they handled their players physically as well as mentally to get ready.
Okay, end of 3 periods, tied, going to another start of an overtime session, and Dallas was carrying it to New Jersey pretty well at the end of the 3rd period. Came out into the first sudden death overtime, and the first 10 shots were by New Jersey, and they dominated. And I'm thinking, what was that collection of guys that left the ice at the end of the 3rd? It's a different bunch of guys out here now, and it went on. They only allowed 1 shot in the first overtime and only 1 before they won it in the 2nd.
Well, you know what was getting frightening, I'm sure, for everyone who was a New Jersey Devil fan or a player? You know in your minds, I think the New Jersey Devils knew in their minds that they were the better team. When I was always asked, well, what do you think of this game and the series, I'd say, well, listen, I know the New Jersey Devils are a better team. Does that mean they're necessarily going to win? No. And it got to the point where, as we saw in Game 5, where Mike Modano steals a game along with Eddie Belfour. So if Dallas does the same thing in Game 6 and steals that one, and they're coming back for Game 7, then none of the history or the unfolding of the game doesn't matter because it's only who scores when they need to. And I think that was the most frightening thing. And of course, when Jason Arnott broke free and finished that off, I think that was a tremendous relief. The New Jersey Devils, in their hearts, I'm sure, were very frightened that this thing might slip away. But of course, that's history now. They did what they had to do to win, and it was a glorious victory for them.
Now, those are all of our thoughts, but there are other thoughts by the other half of our crew. When we come back, I'll be joined by Stan Fischler. A little Maven talk after these words.